I choose you, Raridon.
Remember, nothing matters and nobody cares. Yep, and half Chubb to the Chiefs.
I think he's at least like 64% Chubb now.
We used to call him quarter Chubb, but he's definitely at least half Chubb.
And I think in that offense, he could get into a 3/4 for sure.
He could be a Chubb and a half. A man needs what a man needs. Let's just fucking get over it. What do you need? A couple drinks? A joint? You can come out with the line. They don't call it a job for nothing. I don't need you to enjoy it.
I want you to start looking at it as a blow career.
Now that's a cold open.
Sights and sounds and edges found, you will now get down with the Underground. Posted up on the OTC Fantasy YouTube channel. Dynasty Underground is back in your life. I am Trav, hosting and West Coastin. The Miyagi is with me, Jax Falcone. How are you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. Thanks for having me today.
It's an absolute treat, sir. Thank you for your attendance. And on the other side of me, in his WrestleMania shirt on WrestleMania week. I don't know if you knew that, but it is WrestleMania week right now, sir. And I have loads of respect for the attire tonight, Joquavius Kuvetakis.
You think that I wore a WrestleMania shirt on WrestleMania week by accident? You're right. I did.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Incredible.
It's honestly just a really comfortable shirt. I used to be way into the WWF.
Wow.
Like shortly after they changed it to WWE is like around the time I started losing interest. The merger with WCW, it all just kind of fell apart for me at that point. I've tried to get back into it from time to time, but you know, this shirt right here is featuring Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Just some beautiful Attitude Era WWF, which was just the absolute golden age. You can never convince me otherwise. I'm like, with wrestling, I'm just like an old school hip hop guy. I'm just like, you can't change me now. This is what I like. All right, sorry.
Okay. I love it. I love it. It is fantastic. I was also an Attitude Era kid, kind of shaped my entire life, if I'm being completely honest with you.
I'm more of a Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I mean, that's
right. Yeah. You know, that's where that's part of where the Canadian white trash roots come from, boys, is the old WWF of the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fun show. Of course, make sure you go and subscribe on that YouTube channel. Find us on the socials, and find us on the Player Profiler Network for all of your audio needs. Just want to give a shout out here, boys.
Yeah.
Curdy and I did a live stream earlier today, and it was an absolute blast. I haven't been on a live show, I think, in years, fellas, and I'm just so happy the way that it turned out. I know this might be kind of whack, but I'm like proud of how Curdy showed up for it, and he hosted the whole thing. I was just in the co-pilot seat, just chilling. It was fantastic. So I couldn't be more happy that Curdy is finally activated on the YouTube channel, and there's only gonna be more to come. So keep an eye on that. More live stuff is going to be coming. I know I am going to try and hop on with him as much as I possibly can because of how much we had there. And boys, there was it was a mailbag episode, so we took Discord questions and we took questions from in the chat. There was a question in the chat that I mentioned on the live show that I was going to bring over to this show because it was about us. Okay, first I got to ask, do you guys know much about the Three Amigos? Because it's about that.
The only thing I remember from the Three Amigos is like they did like some little almost Macarena move, and then they did like a little humping thrust motion. I remember that. I remember the actors who were in it. I saw this when I was a kid. I think my dad loved the shit out of this movie. But I can't say I've seen it since, I don't know, it's been 30 years since I saw the Three Amigos, and probably all the comedy was lost on me at that age. It's probably like I should tee it up for a rewatch because I'm sure it's gold.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that show is there's comedy levels, right? There are some, like there were some drinking jokes that when my son was watching it with me, he didn't quite get. They were like I forget what it was. They were like, they're in Mexico and they don't know anything about they don't know shit, So the guy gives them like I think it was tequila or something, mezcal or something. They're like, what is this? And they're like, it's tequila. And he goes, is it like beer? And they're like, yeah, it's like beer. And he's like, oh, good, like beer. And my son was like, didn't understand that joke, that they're just pounding this hard liquor. But he did get the joke that was the plane goes overhead, and they go, "Oh, that must be a mail plane." And they go, "How can you tell?" And he goes, "Well, you didn't see the two little balls." The dumbest joke of all time. But yet, when you're a 9-year-old
You
boy,
probably loved it.
that thing hits hard. So like, there's like levels to the jokes, and so yeah, for sure, Three Amigos bringing the pain.
So your son
Okay.
is basically the age I was when I
Yes.
last saw that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he thought it was stupid too, but he's like, that's there's some funny jokes like the
Sometime
two
30 years from now, some obscure reference is going to be made. He was like, I know, it rings a bell.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So the question was,
Mhm.
if the Dynasty Underground crew was the Three Amigos, who would be Dusty Bottoms, played by Chevy Chase? Who would be Lucky Day, played by Steve Martin? And who would be Ned Niederlander, played by Martin Short?
I mean, I feel
So,
like this one is so clear. It doesn't even. First of all, I'm Master Shake. I'm obviously Chevy Chase, right? Like
okay.
I'm the
Dusty
tallest
Bottoms?
one. Yeah, I'm the tallest one. I'm the biggest dick of this group, right? Chevy Chase turned out to be a complete asshole. I've got to just
To
take
be
that.
clear, that's R, not have. That is
Thank you.
R, not have. Yeah.
You're like Ned Flanders, so you've got to be this Ned Needleminder.
Martin Short's Canadian too.
I was going to
Bingo.
say he's Canadian. That was the only connection I was going to make. 'Cause Martin Short's Canadian, so that one's obvious.
Yep.
Yes,
So
I
you're
mean
Steve
it
Martin.
was between you two with Steve Martin and Martin Short, but I'll give you the Canadian. So that
Okay.
leaves you to be Steve Martin, which also tracks.
All right.
I'll take Steve Martin. I got no problem with that. Seems like
Beautiful.
a really great dude who's hilarious. Sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah, and hasn't
like it.
aged. He was 80 years old when he was 20, and he's still the exact same age. It's unbelievable.
I hope I look like this when I'm 70.
He's like
Yeah.
Dick Clark, It's just like unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, boys. Well, that looks like that is solved. So
solved.
shout out to, I can't recall who asked that, but shout out to them and shout out to everybody who jumped in the live stream. It was cool. Lots of good questions, some thoughtful questions in there. And so only more to come. But
I'm actually going to watch Three Amigos now. I'm going to watch it you know what? I'm going to bring my 9-month-old, be like, you watch this.
The whole premise
He said
is
balls.
that the whole premise is that they think they're doing a movie, and they're actually brought in to rescue a village from actual fucking gang people who are like trying to kill everybody. So they're like pretending to shoot guns and stuff, and like the guys are like trying to kill them. It's like ridiculous. So they're so stupid they don't realize it, which is very funny topically. It works
totally. And those actors are fitting in those roles too,
because they're acting brave. So they're like, whoa, look how brave these guys are, but they're not actually brave. They're dumb acting brave, which is fucking hilarious when you think about it, right?
All right, I'm in. Son of a bitch, I'm in.
So, Dynasty Underground tonight, boys. It's fun. This is going to be our last show before the NFL draft. And actually, Curdy said it first to me that the draft is next week. And I told him that it kind of gave me the vapors just hearing it said out loud because I didn't realize that it was so soon. And it's usually the end of April. And so what a treat that we get it next week.
Before,
and yeah. So we are going to talk about some of these prospects and their landing spots. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the players adjacent to those landing spots that may be impacted by some of these rookies landing there. And at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about some of these flag plant players that we are staking our claims on for these rookie drafts. So going to be an exciting episode, boys. I'm excited to get into it. So where do we want to go first? Like, do we want to talk about like quarterback landing spots here? Because there's a few in the first round, guys. I think the first round is going to be an interesting place in the draft because we're going to get a decent amount of wide receivers. We're probably going to get one running back, maybe two.
Well, I guess if you're gonna start with quarterback, it's a short conversation because I think Fernando Mendoza is solved. We kind of know that Kirk Cousins is going to start for a while until he can't throw the ball anymore, which could be week 1. Who knows? But anyway, But then you look at okay, Ty Simpson. Is Ty Simpson really going to change the fortunes of any quarterback playing football that matters at all? I don't think so. And I don't think that there's another quarterback that's going to come in and change the fortunes of any other I just don't think there's really much to talk about there. I think, to your point, Trav, I think the conversation sort of starts with, the first skill position that goes, and that's going to be Jeremiah Love, which I think is probably the thing that I want to talk about, at least on the top, because I've got a couple of. First of all, where do you think he's going to go? So I don't think that he's going to go to New York, or at least I think the bet is good enough that he's not going to go to New York in this way. What's the odds that either Arizona, which by the way I think is in play, by the way, like maybe 10%, 10, 15%. Like if you're handicapping this thing, it's like, okay, 0%, 0%, and then Arizona. Arizona
Mhm.
probably 10%. I think once they don't take him, I think Tennessee is like 50-50 to take him. Would you say that that's about right?
Feels right.
All right. So if that's the case, then he's a little less than 50% to get by Tennessee. I think when New York's on the clock, I think they're below 50% to draft him, even if he's there. So because of that, I think that puts New York at like, 20-ish percent to land him, maybe less. And I think there's a lot of scared people with Cam Scatabo. And I'm saying buy Cam Scatabo right now. I think that's the one action I think I would be taking. Just I think you're getting a discount because there's still people who fear that Jeremiah Love goes there. Obviously, if he does, you lose the bet. But I think that the value it's a good bet to make. I think. What do you guys think?
What are you reading that says New York's not going to take him? Let me just preface this by saying, as time has gone on, I'm increasingly convinced that Tennessee's not going to do this. Right? I
Mm,
think they. So there's a couple. Let's just talk about Tennessee first because that's probably the
yes.
most interesting. So I heard the guys in the Ringer NFL show bring up the point like they're building a new stadium, they're opening a new stadium, and they need some star power aside from Cam Ward, who may be ruled a bust by the end of this season, right? And then what
Right.
do they have to sell season tickets with if they don't have like a star? So like that's maybe the strongest argument for taking Jeremiah Love, aside from the fact
Yes.
that sure, running back's a need, but it's pretty dumb for
Yes.
teams to be taking him that early, right? So but if just from a team building standpoint, the assumption of rational coaching and team management, to quote the great Sigmund Bloom, like they should go in another position. If they want to go skill, they should probably be taking a wide receiver. Like every team, especially Tennessee, could use a Carnell Tate, just from like a outside X receiver that can win against man. We've talked about how he's probably a better real life asset than fantasy asset. We'll save that conversation for later. Anyways, I just don't think Tennessee's doing it. Why do you think New York's not taking him? Because you just wrote that off, and I want to understand why.
I didn't write it off. I just think that when it comes to each team, I think, you have to start at 50-50. Like, and I think, you know, um, are they more or less likely than 50-50 to take them? I think, you start to get to Arizona. It's like, well, I think they're less than 50-50, probably 10-20%. And then I think Tennessee is 50-50. I really think that, like, I agree. The conversation that's happening, at least out loud, whether it's happening inside of Tennessee or not, is Carnell Tate. If you're going to make a splash, maybe you get Carnell Tate, get Cam Ward a weapon, uh, an aerial weapon that could help him even more so than a running back. But my point is that I think even if you say it's 10%, 50-50, then 50-50, even if you think the Giants are 50-50 to take him, at that point, necessarily, they're like less than 25% to get him, even if they're 50-50 to draft him, because there's two teams in front of him that might take him, and then renders that point useless. So I guess my point is, I think if you just look at the straight odds that New York lands him, I think it's fairly low, at least low enough. And I've been thinking about this too. Like, I suppose if, man, oh man, if Tennessee took Carnell Tate, that would give them a strange choice of basically also whomever they passed on to take Carnell Tate and or Jeremiah Love. There's just going to be a really, really good player there for them to take. I don't know, man. I just think that drafting Jeremiah Love when you already have Scatabo and Tracy, not as wise when you need some defense in New York. That's just my take. That's
Mhm.
kind of it. I mean, is there intelligence on this? I don't think so.
So how many picks do the Titans have? We should probably find that out because I tend to think that they want to take a wide receiver, and I don't think Carnell Tate is a top 5 in the NFL draft talent. So I think the likeliest scenario is they dangle that pick to the Commanders,
Yeah,
who are
sure.
also short on picks, but dangle that pick to the Commanders. Say, hey, come trade up, get him before your division rival does.
Yep.
And like, I just think the Commanders are going to end up with him, and maybe that's wish casting on my part because that's like
Yeah.
the nuts landing spot for
Yeah.
Love, right? But that's kind of what I want to happen. What I think is makes the most sense. And then if Tennessee trades back, then they're in a position to take Carnell Tate. The question is, are they afraid the Browns are going to
Or
take
the Giants.
Carnell Tate
Mhm.
or the Giants? Yeah. So I don't know. This
Mhm.
is the game theory stuff that I love.
I really actually like Carnell Tate at the Giants. You know,
I don't mind Carnell Tate with the Titans, to be honest with you. Like, I think he's a nice fit with Cam Ward. Cam Ward does like to throw the ball downfield. That's what Carnell Tate needs. He needs to be on a team where he's going to get peppered with targets. I think that's the best fit for him. And Joe, kind of counter to your point, I think the NFL is seeing him as a top 5 talent from what I've been reading into.
yeah,
They are looking at him in that range. And so I would not be surprised at all if he goes there. Like, the Jeremiah Love piece is tough because he's as likely to be there for the Giants as them to pass on him. You know what I mean? So I think, like, it's hard. I don't really know how to explain that necessarily, but I think that there is
obviously.
just as I think if the Titans are 50-50, then the Giants are 50-50 too. You know what I mean? Like, for
Yeah,
me,
sure. But if they're both
it's kind of a
50-50, that means that the Giants are now 25%, even if you just have both of them at 50-50, because
y-
their 50-50 comes first.
but then I guess if you're throwing the Cardinals into that, then the Titans couldn't be 50-50 either necessarily, right? They'd
Exactly.
be,
That's kind of my point. At some
so
point, I think
I
the odds
guess.
of the Giants landing him is less than 25% to some, and I think it's probably, comfortably less than that, maybe in the 15 to 20% that they
Mm.
end up drafting him based off of what I'm seeing. All I'm saying is I think Cam Scatterbo, there's definitely people who
Yeah.
think that Jeremiah Love is there, or even if they think he might be, they're like, ooh, what an opportunity for me to get off this. And if you offer less than what he's really worth, in other words, look, if he clears, if Friday night Thursday night, excuse me, we get to a point and it's like, dude, Cam Scatterbo, you know what I mean? You'll be like, this is fucking great.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have these feelings as soon as your guy clears, right? As soon as your guy clears, you're gonna be like, all right. That's why I even think there's been some rumblings about Arizona taking Jeremiah Love, which I would not put this past them at all. Dumb things happen in this NFL. If he's available at 3 and 4 and 5, and everybody thinks that 4 and 5, then 3 definitely could take him for some stupid reason. You get my point.
Mhm.
Like, all these
Can
guys
you
are just as dumb as the
imagine?
other.
Can you imagine Tyler Algier just sat behind Bijan for 3 years after he had
Just
1,000
yeah,
yards
Fuck.
as a rookie, and then his
yes.
team
Oh, that'd
just
be
goes
so
and
dirty.
drafts Jeremiah
That would
Love?
be
Oh
so
yeah.
dirty. I also did you guys see the rumors that Jerry Jones with 2 first-round picks is potentially thinking about making a splash
Yes.
for a player that he thinks the Giants are going to target? Oh my god. Is that him moving up to 3 to give Arizona more picks for them to rebuild with so that he can take Jeremiah Love at 3? Because Jerry would fucking do that.
And I was listening to Sirius whatever, and there were the Cowboys were on NFL whatever it is, NFL channel, and they were talking about the Cowboys moving up for the safety Caleb Downs at 3, and I was like, holy shit! And they're like, do you think that's a good move for them to sell the farm to move up the? I'm like, fuck, these people are crazy. Like the discourse in and around like the teams where it's not us being rational is fucking crazy. It's absolutely
Yeah.
wild. I was like, of course it's not a good. I wanted to hop on there and be like, what are you talking about? It's like when Hayden Winks was on that show when everybody was talking about Jeremiah Love, and he had to sit there and be like,
Oh my
I
god.
guess I'll just shut up now. This
That
is
was
like
unbelievable,
so
him
good.
sitting there. Fuck, I'm surprised we didn't see sweat stains through his shirt
It
on that
was
one. That
so
was
good. He like
well
had
done
this
by him.
awesome point, and everybody was like, yeah, I don't know. I think I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
gotta get that stud running back.
like, wow, dude. He was probably like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
you guys know.
yeah. Yeah,
That was
but, like, NFL team logic is not the same as our logic, which seems logical, to be honest with you.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta get that run back. Establish
Yeah.
the run.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
run the
so there
damn
you go.
ball.
So anyway, I think for those reasons, I'm and look, if Carnell Tate is there for the Giants and they're both there, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Love, I think they're just as live to take Carnell Tate as they
That's
are to
fair.
take Jeremiah Love. I really do. Um, you know, That's just
I
me.
would love it if the Giants took Carnell Tate. That
Me
would
too.
be phenomenal. That would not only be good for Carnell Tate, that would be obviously awesome for Neighbors, and that would be awesome for
For
Dart.
Jackson Dart.
And I mean, like that's one of those win scenarios.
Yep.
That's obviously great for our Scattaboo bag. So like,
Everything.
I would
This
profit greatly, and probably like, man, make him the T Higgins to
Bingo.
Malik Neighbors' Jamar
guys,
Chase, and I'm really
Bingo.
the
interested.
Giants are kind of like nailing their last couple of drafts.
If
And
they do Carnell Tate,
kind of
that's a
kills me inside.
smart
It
move
kind of
because
kills.
he
I
is the
love
T
the
Higgins.
players on the Giants, and I fucking hate that. I hate that.
I think the Giants like are my as a Raiders fan, you hate every team, but I would say the Giants are my least hated team right now.
Mm-hmm. So in kind of the Cam Scatabo vein, what would be the play with Tony Pollard like right now? With that, like buying Tony Pollard doesn't seem like a fun thing, though, boys.
No, it doesn't.
Like, and
No,
you're not
because
really selling them, right?
here's the question, Trav. If you win the bet, what exactly do you actually win?
Exactly. I think the best you got to be hoping for if you're a Tony Pollard owner is that backfield gets split, right? And that Tony Pollard ends up somewhere else, and can be something else. Because I don't think you're selling him for very much. Like, would you guys sell him for like that 10 cents on the dollar, or would you just hold him at that point?
Hold.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
He's just a running back who's going to get opportunity. I had this thought in a startup I was in last month. It was that one where I asked you guys if I should take Cam Scattaboo, and you guys talked me out of it. And now you're saying it's a great pick, which is not at all annoying. But what occurred to me is
I didn't have the courage back then. I'm sorry. I didn't have the courage.
What occurred to me is like, what if in a startup you take Scattaboo and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Tony Pollard?
Right.
You're left with two pretty good assets.
Yeah.
Regardless.
It's a good point.
And one of them's getting nuked. And like, I'll take those odds.
It's a good point. It's a great call. I like it.
Until Nick Singleton comes rolling around, baby.
Second round, baby.
Yeah. And in that draft, I already had the 101. So then I'm just like, it would just be a handcuff. I should take all three of these guys, and then at least I've got his handcuff.
Yeah, that's the right answer. It just took us
what
too
I
long
get from listening to you guys. I know.
Yep,
it occurred to me after the fact. It occurred to me after the fact. I was like, I could have easily had all of them.
I'm terrible at this, remember.
And it turns out, boys, in the competition between Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and the field, that battle might actually be won by Jeremiah Love. Because do we all agree that he's probably not getting past Washington?
Correct.
Like, that'd be crazy town, right? Okay.
No, it's not happening.
Not happening. Yeah.
Little callback to the field there.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That being said, the Saints, telegraphed that already by signing Travis Etienne to that contract.
Yep. And half Chubb to the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think he's at least like 64% Chubb now.
Yeah. We used to call him quarter Chubb, but he's definitely at least half Chubb.
And I think in that offense, he could get into a 3/4 for sure.
Yep, I agree. Oh, he could be a Chubb and a half.
Mm-hmm. Okay, boys, let's talk about some of these other wide receiver landing spots too. I think the Commanders could be a potential wide receiver landing spot at 7 if they don't get Jeremiah Love. I think that would not be very good for Terry McLaurin for the long term. Obviously, like long term for him isn't that long necessarily, but I think that's a viable place.
You want to know what I wonder? I wonder if, let's say it goes Tennessee Love, New York Tate. Let's just say it goes 4-5 Tate Love. My question is kind of like, when does the next wide receiver actually get drafted? Because if Cleveland was excited to draft Tate, let's say, or Washington was excited to get Love or Tate, any of these teams that are like, well, if either of them are on the board, we'll take them, and they're both gone, like, would they just take one Lemon or Tyson, or would they just be like punt? And how far would the NFL punt on that offensive skill position? I wonder.
I think 11 at Miami is a spot that I look at as probably the next spot.
Maybe
New Orleans could even do it too, alongside Olave.
100%.
They don't have Rashid
New Orleans
Shaheed
Lemon.
So, in answer to your question, Cleveland has another pick at 24. I think that's where they're for sure taking a wide receiver, unless Tate falls to them.
That's
That's the sweet spot. That's like the honey pot for wide receivers. They can get a KC Concepcion or a Omar Cooper or a Boston or whoever they think.
Yep.
Washington's live for receiver. The Saints are wide for receiver. KC's live for receiver. Bengals aren't doing it. The Dolphins is like the firewall. That's as far as we go. But 4 out of the 5 teams after the Browns are all live for wide receiver. I think we're getting 2 in the top 11.
I think that's right too. And then what about the third one? If we look past the top 11, we got Dallas at 12. We've been talking about Rams being a good spot for a wide receiver. The only thing that sticks with me on that is the shelf life of Matt Stafford and what that looks like after Matt Stafford. Like I've talked about it with Puka, and I just don't know what that would necessarily look like. That being said, the wide receiver drafted at 13 is going to be very, very talented in a Sean McVay offense. What about Baltimore at 14, guys?
Yeah, that's not great. I mean,
that's the opposite of a Nets landing spot, but they're absolutely a possibility. Yep. They just re-signed Bateman last offseason. They've got Flowers. They kept. I think they're more likely to go tight end and like not double down on this position that Lamar's not going to throw to anyways, right?
Totally.
Yeah, Tampa's at 15, always live to draft a wide receiver, basically, at any point in any round.
Can we just give Tampa some credit for how good they've been at drafting wide receivers?
Amazing.
And the value they've gotten. I mean, obviously, Emeka Egbuka was a smash, but even McMillan the year before, such a savvy pick in the third round. Yeah, Tez last year too. I think
there was another guy too, another Johnson that was on there that was showing up when he was given chances too.
Tampa's kind of like the new Pittsburgh in that every wide receiver they draft, like that guy's pretty damn interesting, especially with the departure of Mike Evans.
Except I don't think they're not shipping out head cases every year. They don't have some knucklehead that they have to ship out every season.
Yeah. Well, they're surrounded by knuckleheads in Florida, but
fair enough.
But I don't know. I just think Tampa is probably good enough at this where they're going to do it in the second or third round, and they're not going to do it in the first.
Yep. I did tout Jalen McMillan as a solid buy as an under 25 wide receiver on the live stream with Curdy. So I love that you shouted that out, Joe. Love that you shouted that out.
I think that's a good buy. I agree. Because right now he's the wide receiver 3 on that team. And, both Godwin and Ibuka were hurt last year, and Godwin's on his way out. I mean, at some point, he's not getting any younger, and he has been hurt and could for sure be hurt again. So yeah, he's in a pretty good spot, and a high volume, high paced pass offense.
We'll go 3 or 4 deep in that wide receiver depth chart on our fantasy rosters for sure. And there's not like a ton of teams that you really want to say that you can say that about.
Remind
Pittsburgh, no. Chargers, no.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I'm sticking with McMillan here, but our model loved him. I'm trying to remember what his score was. I'm looking it up right now.
I think it was a low 70s, maybe.
No, it wasn't 70s.
No,
I don't think so. No.
Okay,
but close.
Maybe a high 60s.
I don't think it was 70s. Yeah,
I'll find it.
I'll look it up too.
Yeah. Look it up real quick, Jax.
I will. Go ahead.
Yeah. As we look, like Cleveland has that 24. You mentioned them as a spot. We circling the wagons again in Buffalo at 26, boys. Can they fuck another one up?
That would be so funny after they just smoked a second round pick for DJ Moore. Granted, I think DJ Moore is going to crush on that team, and I think he's actually a pretty good buy. And even if they draft a wide receiver, I don't think it affects him all that much because they're just so desperate. But I don't think they're taking another wide receiver. I don't think they're taking tight end. I don't really think Buffalo is the place we're super excited about any position going.
Miami does have another one at 30. Go ahead.
Jalen McMillan was the wide receiver 8, the model's wide receiver 8 in that 24 class with a score of 63, which is very good. Anything in the 60s is solid. And wide receiver 8 in that
mid
class.
Mid-60s is like a 50-50 shot to be a wide receiver 2, more or less.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, wide receiver 8 out of 35, certainly a high score.
Yeah.
Put it this way: well ahead of Jalen Polk, who everybody had ahead of Javon Baker. slightly ahead of Brian Thomas Jr., which is starting to look a little funny. Maybe so. Ahead of Roman
Stop
Wilson,
it.
your boy. Ahead of Malachi Corley, of course. Adonai
Yeah.
Mitchell. All these guys that other than Brian Thomas Jr., they're all kind of worthless.
Yeah.
So if we look at running backs, guys, the running back 2, we've talked about Seattle. If it's not Seattle at 32, what do you guys see as some top of the second round landing spots that could be had for these running backs?
Well, let's just talk about this because I don't think Seattle. I think Seattle definitely doesn't have that many picks. I think they've got 3 draft picks.
3.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think there's any way that they hang on to this pick. I think they trade to that team that wants to take a quarterback, right? Or they're just trading to anybody, right? They're just going to try and accumulate more picks because they know that I think they know that they don't have to take Jadarian Price right here, right? And they can do it a little bit later, and or there's other guys.
So maybe.
I'm just like I believe the Jadarian Price, the Seattle smoke. I don't believe first
At
round
32?
pick smoke. Yeah, I think
I agree
sense.
with that.
That makes complete sense. Yeah, they would definitely. That's a good spot. I don't know if there's going to be another quarterback that's viable for the 32 pick if they were to trade out of that one.
Well, I just think if somebody wants Ty Simpson and they want to get that 5th-year option,
he's going to be
still
gone
there.
by 32,
He's still
baby.
there. Seattle's phones are going to be ringing.
Totally,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we look at the top of the second, we got the Jets, Arizona, if they miss on Jeremiah Love. Like, I think that might even be too rich for some of these guys. I think the only guys that I can see maybe going in the second round are Price and Singleton, maybe. But even Singleton's injury probably knocks him out of that. So Price might be the only one. Do you guys think?
I think that, let me just go back to my point that I just made. I think the Jets and the Cardinals are live to try and trade to 32 if Simpson's still there. But anyways, sorry, ask your question again. I was focused on that.
Running back landing spots in round 2, and whether you think there is more than just Jadarian Price that could go in that, as that second running back in the top 50. Do you think there's any other ones? All right.
This is a hard question to answer. There are running backs.
Don't jump out of your seats, boys.
There are running backs that I like more than Jadarian Price, but I wouldn't take any of them here in the NFL draft. I don't think any of them are worthy of this pick, like including Price and like the field. No pun intended.
Look, I've been on record as saying I think it's in play that as few as 2 or 3 running backs go in day 1 and 2, which is like crazy to say because people are like, wow, there's going to be more than that in 3 full rounds, and you already have one off the board in the top 5. But I do think that there's a way that this NFL will just look at it and be like, no, thank you, especially with the fact that there's a ton of wide receivers that are profiled as good. Maybe not great, but good wide receivers. There's a bunch of them. We're going to get to this later in the show, but there's a bunch of wide receivers that are going to get drafted with enough draft capital, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, that we're going to be talking about them post-draft. But my point is that I think that a lot of that skill position is going to push them out. Tight ends also. So, yeah, I posted this online. The average number of running backs taken in days 1 and 2, in other words, rounds 1, 2, and 3 over the since 2016, so the last 10 years, is 6.5. So light would be 4, 5, 6. So even if it's just a light class, like 4, 5, 6 is pretty much what we should anticipate. We shouldn't anticipate more than 6, which we don't. But my point is that it doesn't take very much for it to be 3, or something. So I do think that it could be one of those things where maybe Jadarian Price gets that, but maybe he doesn't too. Maybe it's like all smoke and people are like, seriously, you want me to draft fucking Jadarian Price at top of the 2nd? That's where fucking Nick Chubb got drafted. Get the hell out of here. Like nobody, this could just be an all nothing burger that he goes closer to Seattle's 2nd pick at 64 at the end of the 2nd round. And then there's just nothing else. There could be like 2 taken in the first 3 rounds. Now,
hey, let's play.
Could also get stupid, but
let's play a little game.
Yeah.
Where would Cam Skattebo be ranked in this class as a prospect?
Running back 2 easily.
Yeah. Where would Bashal Tootin be ranked in this class?
Running back 3.
2 or
Okay.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
with
yeah.
Scatabo in it, he's 3.
Scatabo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Where would Jarquez Hunter be ranked in this draft?
1.
Yeah, 1.
He'd
I mean,
be in the top 3 or 4, right? Like,
yeah,
Probably
he'd
around there,
be
yeah.
certainly in this, Mike Washington conversation.
I just named 3 guys that were drafted in round 4. Round
Yeah.
4 is where prospects like this top out. Like this year's draft class, all these guys are round 4 and later picks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Any of them they get drafted ahead of round 4. I don't know. I understand the class, and you got to just work with what you got. And there's
Right.
depth at other positions, but I'm sorry. None of these guys are better than Tootin. None of these guys are better than Scattaboo. I would argue none of them are better than Jarquez Hunter as prospects. That one's tougher to defend.
Yes, a little
but
bit,
we're just
but
talking about it from prospect standpoint, right?
that was a pretty dope SEC back. I mean, we
Yeah,
got to give
yeah.
him some credit.
Woody Marks, Dylan Sampson, all these guys went in the 4th round.
Dylan Sampson, dude, people loved him. NFL.com loved him. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I just literally don't see there's going to be maybe 1 or 2. I think I completely agree with your point, Jax. I think it's going to be the lowest number of running backs on days 1 and 2. And in the 4th round is when they're going to start firing off on, their ranked running backs in order. I don't think the NFL is biting.
I don't know, man. I think sometimes when there's sparse assets, the NFL's market moves, you know what I mean? And so say Jadarian Price does go at 32, then getting one of those next guys becomes more paramount for some of these teams. And so I'm not saying there's going to be 6 in the first 3 rounds, but I think there could be 3 by the end of the 2nd round.
Okay. Who are the most
wacky?
Who are the most RB needy teams, right?
There's a
Titans.
bunch.
Titans have 2 running backs I think they're pretty comfortable with, and they drafted one in the 6th round last year. But
I don't know, man. I think there's so many teams that would run Bengals definitely could be a running back spot. I think the Falcons who just lost Tyler Algier potentially, that rookie would be nuked, obviously. I think the Packers are a spot for a running back. I think the Jaguars are probably a spot for the running back too. I don't necessarily say that those teams are going to be going for them in the 2nd round or necessarily the 3rd round, but I think this is more of the NFL is wacky and I'm betting on some wacky shit happening take. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm betting on.
Aside from the Commanders, though, you just named all teams that have their starter more or less in place, and they're drafting a backup. So where are they going to draft this backup? I'm just not buying that they're going to spend top 3 capital on a backup when there are higher quality starters at other positions. Is I guess
potentially, yeah. But you never know, man. Maybe the Packers see a successor for Josh Jacobs.
I mean, Marshawn Lloyd was a better prospect than most
of them. He'd be the RB2 in this class for sure. Are you kidding me? For sure.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. So, I mean, maybe they do, but maybe they also have, a little bit. So I'll give you, look, 2024, there was 4 taken in rounds 1, 2, and 3. 2024 was Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, and the aforementioned Marshawn Lloyd. Players like Bucky Irving, Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, all these guys
all
fell
4th round picks, right?
Fell out.
But we still thought of that as a shitty class, didn't we?
Right, but 4
and 4 went class.
And 4 went though.
It was a much, much better class. Here, I'll give you another one. In 2021, 4 went in days 1 and 2, rounds 1, 2, and 3. 2 of them went in the 1st round, just like this, right? Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. The Javonte Williams, who was a much better prospect than all these other guys, went in 2nd round. Trey Sermon in round 3, and then Chuba Hubbard, Michael Carter, Kenny Gainwell, Elijah Mitchell, et cetera, et cetera. Khalil Herbert, Kylan Hill, Jamar Jefferson. Remember, everybody thought Jamar Jefferson was good. 7th round. All those guys fell out of days 1 and 2. And then lastly was 2016 was the last time 4 running backs went. And this is back in the days when Ezekiel Elliott went pick
running backs
4.
were valuable.
Right. Derrick Henry in round 2, ridiculously. The Derrick Henry fade was fucking so stupid. And then the awful Kenyon Drake and CJ Procise went in round
CJ
3.
Procise. Wow.
Yep. So
Wow.
I mean that was a bad draft because there's not very much that they missed on. By the way, although I liked Keith Marshall, who went pick 242 out of Georgia. I remember loving that dude. Anyway, hey, flag plants are coming, so I thought I'd harken back to the missed flag plant of Jax Falcone in 2016. But you get my point. Like, you start to look at those classes, and yeah, there's some good talent, but they also passed on guys to that the community liked, and because they don't give a shit, because they don't care about the community. They'll pass on a position that's not good, and this running back class is not good. So as you're going to almost be embarrassed, like if you're an NFL team and you pick a running back, everybody's like, dude, he picked a fucking running back. You see this guy?
Yeah, fair enough. And I think the takeaway is that even though I'm saying there could be like 3 or 4, you're not, like, those guys are going to get steamed up a little bit because of that draft capital, and you're not biting. So that's all of that is to say that don't bite if there are that many running backs that go that high. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back to, I'm very firmly back in the don't take another running back in the first round, right? It's Love and no one else in your
Oh
first
yeah,
round.
definitely not. Definitely. I mean, we talked about it on one of the episodes that maybe that Jadarian Price landing spot makes somebody do it at 106 or whatever, and I think that's just value falling to you.
Yes. Yeah. We're not going to be those people.
Yeah,
I don't mind Jadarian Price. I don't mind Jadarian Price as a role player, if I'm being honest, boys, but we've talked about that already.
I'll tell you, it's going to be tough to pass on him. Here's the thing: it's such a shitty class that I might be able to find my way to breaking my rule of not drafting the RB2 in this class if it's Jadarian Price at the 107 or something. I don't know. I'm just, if he goes to Seattle at 32. But I will say that I think, are there any other spots? Like, is there any action to take with the Jets? I don't think so. Like, they're taking a wide receiver. There's nothing there. The Rams, not really much there. The Browns, even if they draft 2 wide receivers, who gives a shit? I mean, we're not buying or selling any of the part. All respect to Cedric Tillman and the Cedric Tillman
What about
family.
Jerry Jeudy?
No, there's Cedric Tillman families here on the show.
Oh yeah, sorry, Mrs. Tillman's on the show. Sorry,
Mrs. Tillman. But other than that, I mean, there's not much there. I mean, I heard. I'll push back here while I'm at it, seeing as though we're here. The Podfather saying to sell Harold Fannin. I think I don't think it's time to sell Harold Fannin. I think he's an absolute stud. He's also 21 years old. I mean, he was a young, early declare, just absolute monster. I gotta love Harold Fannin. Keep your Harold Fannin. Do not sell your Harold Fannin.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
we're not.
Gotta keep your Fannin intact, boys. Everyone keep their Fannins intact.
Yep.
So, Jax, you were talking about some of the wide receivers down the list a little bit and some of those landing spots. Do we want to kind of start getting into some of those ones? We've talked kind of about the top 3 in the first round. What about Omar Cooper and KC Concepcion? Why don't we talk a little bit of spots for them in that, probably 15 to 32 range?
Yeah, I mean, 15. I mean, we're talking, the one thing I saw was the Jets looking at Omar Cooper at pick 16. And in a couple of mocks, I've seen Jordan Tyson or even Mekhi Lemon mocked there, and therefore obviously had fallen to pick 16. I wonder, with all the smoke around the Jets and their interest in Omar Cooper, if they would pull a Henry Ruggs and if they would make the mistake of drafting Omar Cooper over Mekhi Lemon at 16 if they were both available. That would be pure cinema.
That'd be pretty crazy. I've seen him mocked there a lot, but in all of those instances, Lemon's already gone.
I mean,
I've seen that, Joe. I was kind of talking, I'm not trying to take us on a tangent here. We'll get back to these wide receivers. I've seen that as a widely mocked place for Ty Simpson as well. So Jets are going to be a bit of a pivotal point in that middle of the first round, I think, as far as who they take there. And if they don't take an offensive skill position guy, which I think wide receiver or quarterback is pretty locked if Simpson or the wide receivers are there. I think then those teams after them are getting massive value. It's like what we just talked about with somebody taking the running back at 106 and we get all the value falling down to us. I think
Yeah.
if that happens, some team is going to get rich. Like I think like my Eagles at 23 having this visit with Jordan Tyson, I think they're hoping that some of those teams pass up on these guys, but I don't know.
The interesting thing about the Jets is they've got a good offensive line. They traded away their entire defense last year for draft capital. So, I think they're going defense with, the 102. I think they could go defense again at 16, depending on who's available, and then just use that early second round pick and some of their other capital to trade back up, one spot to go get Ty Simpson there. I'm not sure how many teams are live for that, but, we're rehashing the same point.
Yeah.
But the Jets basically traded away an entire defense last year, and their offense is actually short of one wide receiver, which is definitely live for this pick.
Yeah.
Their offense is in pretty good shape.
Yeah. I think so too. I was saying it with Curdy earlier today that like that team is a bad season and drafting a quarterback away from having a really fun offense if they take a wide receiver in this draft. Like if you put a Mekhi Lemon, a Jordan Tyson, an Omar Cooper, a Casey Concepcion beside Garrett Wilson, they're going to have a bad year with Geno Smith this season. They're going to have some draft capital. Well, maybe not because Geno just
is it possible
does
that
Is
it possible that Geno Smith was just in a dysfunctional, awful,
you are right.
shitty run team by no, seriously, no disrespect.
No, it was terribly run for 2 decades at least.
But I mean, even there was a lot of stories about the Chip Kelly unpreparedness of this offense, and maybe it was just he was doomed to fail from the beginning. They didn't have very good like there was a lot that left to be desired on that offense. Genty was contacted in the backfield like more than anything. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like things were all easy for Geno. I know he made a lot of mistakes and he played bad, but
here's a good take.
Possible he plays good?
Geno now could ruin the Jets franchise for a second time. And this time he could do it by playing well. This time he would do it by being good.
Yes, that
then
would be
they're
so
not getting
perfect.
those high draft picks.
Oh, that would be perfect.
And so this is his.
I would love
he's
that.
playing the long game is what he's doing. He's coming back to fuck them over again. Is what he's doing.
Can we just take a second and point out that Geno Smith is on the Jets?
Yeah,
he wrote back. He wrote back. They got back together.
Wow, that's so good. He did.
He wrote back. He called his ex. He's like, yo.
You up?
Yeah.
You up. Wasted. He was wasted.
You up?
Too.
Oh, dog. You never sent a "you up" text? Oh, come on
just
now.
Coming back to ruin her life again.
If you've never sent a "you up" text, you're lying.
Yeah, you up? Just you up?
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I think it's in the realm of possibilities, Jax. But I think the assumption is the Jets probably are going to be subpar. In which case, like that quarterback comes into some nice wide receivers if they take.
I guess what I'm asking is there any year one, possibilities for a Mekhi Lemon, Garrett Wilson offense with Breece Hall and Geno Smith?
Definitely.
Could be a top 20 quarterback. I mean, that's not out of the question.
I think that is a cherry on top for that wide. Like year one production is a cherry on top for that wide receiver because you're probably drafting that guy expecting, 45 for 600, and if you get 72 for 995, then that's fucking awesome.
995. Can't go 1,000. Hey, listen, but also rookie first year quarterback is also kind of another hedge year too. I mean, so it could get a little interesting there. I don't know, man. I wonder what
buy low opportunity.
Anyway,
buy low opportunity.
Well, I felt like there's been a buy low opportunity with Garrett Wilson for a long time here. He still gets 160 targets, but no matter who's fucking quarterback. I don't care. Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, dude's getting 160. So go get Garrett Wilson if you like targets.
I like that. Yep. Okay, wide receiver Philly. We got to talk about this AJ Brown stuff, so we might as well bring Philly in
Yes,
here
sir.
as a wide receiver landing spot at pick 23. So let's kind of start with the AJ Brown news. There was a question posed about it on the live stream, so I'll let you guys do the heavy lifting here. Um, Tell me,
Well,
like,
maybe they'll pass on a wide receiver at pick 23 and pick one at pick 31.
Hmm.
maybe they will. You never know. They fucking better get that pick if they're sending AJ goddamn Brown.
I hope not.
Tell
I
me,
hope not.
what's the fallout of the AJ Brown trade, Jax? Like, what the question that was posed to us on the live stream was, what are we doing to prepare for that on our dynasty teams? And then maybe just like add to that with any other impacts that you see, Jax.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the natural answer is Devonte Smith, who's been very good, man. He's been very good. He's a really good
Yeah.
player, obviously, and somewhat stymied in an offense that has AJ Brown on it, so the target, competition is pretty stiff, and the number of targets available on that team are very low, considering their pass volume and how many sort of opportunities Jalen Hurts takes on his own with both the tush push and other. So yeah, I think if they can get clear the air for Mr. Devontae Smith, I think obviously hiccups. He's a buy, but I guess he's a buy right now because he certainly won't be after AJ Brown's gone.
Correct.
I mean, I think everyone's already baking in Devonte Smith. So I sent this tweet out
I
earlier
agree.
today
Yeah.
that like I think the sleeper play is Dallas Goddard, because whenever it's a consolidated target tree, and it has been in Philly, and whenever one of them misses a game, it kind of seems like Goddard is the guy that
Yep.
steps in to fill the shoes, and like you know when to start Goddard, like you know when to start a backup running back, right?
Yeah.
It's like if either of them are out, it's like Goddard's target share just skyrocketed, right? So I think actually Goddard becomes like the number 2 target earner on the team if they end up with any of these rookies. So like Goddard is the sneaky buy in my opinion. Dontavian Wicks, they made that trade for Dontavian Wicks.
Yeah.
He, God bless him, has always been a target earner, right? What does he do with them? He like bats them down to the ground, or he fumbles it into someone's hands for an interception, right?
Is this the new paddle hands?
He doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't always catch it. He
Get
doesn't always
MVS
catch it.
running the deep routes and
Yeah.
Dontavian Wicks on the under stuff.
But you know what,
You're
dude?
lethal.
Dontavian Wicks gets open, so I think he's
Yeah.
going to get a lot of targets if he plays. But I think Philly is the obvious place. They're losing the next receiver, right? We're talking about like how a couple of these guys are just like prototypical X's, right? I mean, the Denzel Bostons. I mean, I hate to say it, but like the Elijah Surratt, like I don't want him to see him go to Philly, but I think he serves a very real purpose there. So I think they're pretty live for one of those two guys as just the the AJ Brown fill in, and then Goddard more or less becomes the
Hey,
number 2
what
target
could go
runner.
wrong? What could go wrong with a team trading AJ Brown away for a first round pick and then taking a wide receiver with that pick?
Stop
I
it.
don't think anything. I don't think anything could go wrong with that. That's never been a problem for anybody else, has it? Also, you stealing my MVS going up for the catch and just batting it out of bounds line with Dontavian Wicks and smashing it into the ground.
Well, you
I
mentioned
see you, Joe. I see you, baby.
Jax, you mentioned that if you have Dontavian Wicks and MVS both running routes out there, you'd be lethal. All I say to that is you better get fantasy points for separation if that's the case, because that's
throw
all they're
Kadarius
getting.
Toney in there.
Woo! That's all they're getting is separation.
Yep.
Payoff ain't coming.
That's good. That's good stuff.
That is good. That is good. Yeah, so like some of the other, I find sometimes when you're trying to figure out landing spots for some of these kind of later wide receivers, so those second and third round guys, it starts to turn into a bit of a crapshoot because any team could be adding these guys as like a depth piece. Some of these guys are going to get nuked by their landing spot, and some of these guys are going to get surprisingly risen in people's perception because of their
Can I
landing
ask
spot.
a question?
Yeah, please.
Is Cleveland a terrible landing spot for a wide receiver or a bad landing spot? Which one do you guys think?
I would say terrible. And the reason I would say that is because year one production. If you don't get year one production, your wide receivers value absolutely craters. And then you're basically just stuck with them. So if you're a rebuilding team that's in it for the long haul, is not trying to wheel and deal and just like drafts a guy out of conviction, is willing to stick to it for 3 years while they figure out quarterback sometime in the next two, then fine. But if you're expecting that player to ascend in value, it's a real tall order with the QB room that they have, with the offense that they're running, all of the above. So I would say terrible in the fact that, like, what you want out of your rookies is for them to increase in value from year one to year two. And
That'd be nice.
that's a very bad place for that to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you think, Trav?
I think I think the same, like it's going to be a shit show there. I think where he can dodge those bullets, it depends on who the receiver is. If it's one of these top talents, I think there is an out in that they are a compiler based on getting peppered with volume because the team sucks and they have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's not going to be pretty quarterback play, but I think if it's one of these talents, they can do a lot more with the shitty level of targets on top of compiling that volume. You know what I mean? So I think a Jordan Tyson, a Makai Lemon, a Casey Concepcion, at a base, I'm expecting them to be peppered with targets and just get by on volume. But with their talent, I can expect a little bit more upside potentially. If we're getting down into like that Surratt tier, and my brain is absolutely blanking on the guys behind him, but into that tier, I think
good for
their
you. You don't want
ability,
anybody behind him. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It's harder to see them making the most of those opportunities. So I'm with you, Joe. It depends on how high they take that guy, because I think even with 24, it's going to be a Boston, Concepcion, and Cooper, and I still think those guys can be difference makers. So the volume is going to be very important for me. And I'm sorry to say that, Mrs. Tillman, but I think it might have to come at the expense of your son.
Hey, listen, I mean, I like Tillman. You guys have already made fun of me tonight for Tillman and for Owen Wilson. What do they have in common? Third round picks, right? We just shouldn't be
Made
taking
fun might be a little strong, Joe. I don't know if we were like making fun.
those guys. Like, really, third round picks like need to land pretty damn well in order to pan out. It's almost like the fourth round wide receivers have fared better than the third round wide receivers of late, right?
That's
it's
true.
just like, the Shamir Dykes. It's like, oh, that worked out pretty well, right? But I don't know. You can't, aside from McMillan, you can't really name third round wide receivers of late that have like really worked out well.
No. And we talked about it a million times. Like, you really want to see that first or second round, really top 40, top 50 wide receivers, and then kind of look at that as a line of demarcation and then see everybody behind that. Right now, Mock Draft Simulator has just 6 players. The top 6 that we've got, Boston, Concepcion, Cooper, and the top 3, Tyson, Lemon, and Tate, as being top 50 picks. And then there's a group of players, and I think if we're going to start maybe talking flag plants, maybe this is the transition to kind of get there, because I would say that after that, you've got this sort of group of wide receivers that I like some guys, maybe I don't, but I think I might lean to a guy that's got that gets better draft capital, gets closer to the pick 50. Like, we didn't like Jack Besh. We kind of like Trey Harris. We still sort of feel that way. And, they were both drafted, I think 55 and 60 or something like that. They were right around that pick 50. And, because I liked Trey Harris, I picked him. And because I didn't like Jack Besh, I 0 shares, 0 cares. Right. So I think it's the same type of thing. Like, of these guys, the Chris Bell, Chris Brazel, Jeremy Bernard, Zach Branch, Antonio Williams, Malachi Fields, our guy Surratt, Ted Hurst, Skylar Bell, Bryce Lance, Dion Burks, Jacoby Lane. Like, you could even go as far as like this Brennan Thompson people like, and then Stribling, or however you say his name. Like, that's a handful of guys that I think at the end of the day, what did I just name? 12 guys? I have no idea. 10, 12 guys. Mm-hmm. That group of wide receivers, someone's going to get top 50 for sure. One of them. Maybe even 2 or 3 or 4 of them could get actual top 50 somewhere in that second round draft capital. It could be a guy like Zach Branch because of speed or something, because
I think Jacoby Lane could be one too.
Maybe. Who knows? So when we look at those guys, but like Jacoby Lane in the mock draft simulator, whatever thing, is like pick 110 or something. It's like,
Oh,
dude, if
interesting.
he gets pick 110, I'm out. Not
Yeah,
out,
see you
but
later.
basically out.
The path has to be clear. The path has to be
Yeah,
pretty clear.
you're gonna have to get a good value on that pick in a rookie draft. But like, if he gets picked 62 or whatever, then it's like, okay, maybe there's a shot here. So I mean, I think we're gonna be looking at that group and really trying to. I think that's gonna be, and I've got a game theory play here, but I think that's going to be the group that we want to get right and not draft the right guys. In other words, not draft the right guys.
I think there's a better way to say that.
Maybe.
Maybe don't draft the wrong players.
Yeah,
yeah,
like that. You know what I meant. Damn it.
Be ready to be wrong, but we really try not to be wrong. We really try not to be wrong. Yeah.
Be ready to be right about the wrong guys. As I always like to say.
Yes.
I am all right,
completely
lost, gentlemen. I'm completely lost now. We got to get a couple of
help me out though, Joe. I mean, that is kind of the point though with that group of wide receivers. And I was wondering, do you have any in that group that could be flag plants? Because that's really the flag plant area, because you can't really flag plant. Like, I would be happy to say that my number one flag plant is Mekhi Lemon, and we could talk about that, but I think that's fairly boring. So do you have any at all in that next group?
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am going to default to the OTC score here. And just a guy I have grown more and more fond of, and I'm going to go with Elijah Surratt. And
that's our guy.
It's going to depend on who he lands with. Like, Eagles, I think, is a good landing spot. We talked about the Raiders last week, right? If he goes to the Raiders at the top of round 2 or round 3, I know I just said don't draft round 3 wide receivers, but if he ends up on the Raiders, I'm a lot more interested. So I think he's my guy.
I would also say
we talked about the Keenan Allen comp, right? I'm sorry?
I would also say the Colts to sort of take over that Pittman role, which would be perfect.
Oh, yes. That's a phenomenal call.
Such a good call.
Yeah, because Keenan Allen didn't really feel like the right comp. I was just going to say, we talked about the Keenan Allen comp last week. That was more of just a size and speed thing. But I think Pittman, and stylistically, is actually the better comp because he's not the separator that Keenan Allen is. Right. And I think Michael Pittman just being physical. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of just sold on Surratt. Draft capital, if he ends up like deep in round 3, it's going to be a very different story. Even anywhere in round 3 except the Raiders would be a very big concern. If it's round 2 or better, our model is so good. By the way, our model is going to be released sometime shortly after the NFL draft. Once we've got draft capital, we can let that bad boy loose. So look for that. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for that, because
and apologies for not having a pre-order done. The website is taking us a little longer than we thought, but good news on that front coming too. So
I actually did mention on the live stream with Curdy today. Yeah, everybody who's followed us knows that this has been a bit of a transition year for us as we've moved into launching OTC. So that's one thing that I said too. We appreciate everybody for bearing with us and kind of sticking with us. And it's kind of shown us that loyal fan base that we thought we had, we really, really do have.
Pretty cool, actually.
Appreciate the hell out of that from everybody, because we know that hasn't been a ton of information about dates and things like that, but we're working on it and it's going to happen. So keep riding.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to leave it at Surratt. I'm going to say in his freshman year, 2.92 yards per route run. He followed his head coach over to Indiana from James Madison and continued to have a very healthy that was a yard per route run number. Yards per route run number and target per route run number.
Yeah.
I don't care about separation and perceived coverage if this dude is making catches and if he's winning those balls and if he's a savvy route runner, and even if he's a little slow, that doesn't matter at this position. So I'm going to trust the production. I'm going to trust the model, and I'm planting my flag in Elijah Surratt as long as he's in the first, as long as he goes 301 or earlier.
Yep.
I think even that, Joe, if it's a prospect that we believe in the talent of, we can think that they're going to be an outlier based on that draft capital stuff. I don't know if I would use that as necessarily the Bible that would deter me from drafting a wide receiver that I really like. In Elijah Surratt, I think it is a wide receiver that I really like. And I think he's kind of like, to me, he's one of the only flag plants in that range, because to me, a lot of those other guys are just kind of jags. You know what I mean? And they're not going to, I don't think Surratt is like this huge big play difference maker, but I think he could be a difference maker in the way, like you said, Keenan Allen is, as the trusty, hard nosed, kind of tough guy, kind of a lunch pail, not a lunch pail kind of dude, where he's going to be reliable for whatever team he goes to. So even in the third round, I'm not balking necessarily at that. And with that, guys, like I obviously can't put my flag in the same guy as well. I could if I wanted to, but that'd be
Yeah, I
way
mean, be
less
careful with
cool.
that verbiage, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, you don't need double flag penetration. We don't
Listen,
Yeah,
don't need
Elijah
that.
can decide whoever plants.
I just hope that flag doesn't have a pole on it.
Yeah. Um this is kind of whack, but it's, for me, it's Casey Concepcion. I've been thinking it since I started my rookie process. And he has just been steamed up ever since that. I think the versatility that he brings, I think this is kind of like the Luther Burden type prospect. He's probably a rung below Luther Burden.
For sure.
And keep in mind that I'm not like an expert scout or anything like that, but I think Casey Concepcion brings that versatility, and the array of landing spots that we could see him landing in look like there's going to be some volume coming his way. So kind of whack to pick a first round guy to plant the flag in. I usually like to go with those guys who could outperform expectation or get you a really good value in the draft. But I think in a class that I think has a lot of just role player guys, Casey Concepcion is more than that.
I'm actually really glad you said that, Trav, because I almost made him mine as well. And what's the one thing we've said we weren't sure about with him is like, what happened in 2024? Well, I looked into it. And what happened is his quarterback, Grayson McCall, suffered two injuries, one of which was, more or less career ending. It was a scary, bad concussion, and he basically quit football after it. So they were in a transition year where his quarterback got hurt and missed most of the season, and they had to completely change the offense, which is why his yards per route run number dipped so far. Target per route run number stayed very healthy at near 25,
Mm-hmm.
but the offense just got a lot less efficient, and he fell down with it. So that's why he transferred. That's why there was a dip in year two, and we saw who he really was in year one and year three at A&M. So I'm more bullish on Concepcion now than I was. That was always just like this question. I was like, we should probably get to the bottom of this. And that's what happens. That's what the process is for, right? Dig deeper, dig deeper, dig deeper, answer questions that you have, problems with, right?
Tell him, girl.
Yeah,
Tell him.
yeah,
Joe
yeah,
or Jax, sorry. What about
yeah. I
you?
don't mean to
I
be
know
boring, but
you probably got some dirty one below down there that you
well,
like.
I do. There's always dirty stuff, but I really think it's for me. It's Surratt as well.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I don't know. There's one red flag, right? The one red flag is contested target percentage. The one red flag is that maybe this guy just can't get open at the NFL level. That's the red flag, right? That's all we've heard, right? We haven't heard much else of anything else, have we?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Right?
I mentioned that him being pigeonholed as an X receiver would be bad,
Mm.
and that his potential lack of yards after contact, or sorry, his potential lack of yak per reception could make it so that he doesn't succeed in the slot in the NFL. So he could be in a spot where he's not succeeding in either of those roles. But that's super TBD. And that's where the trusty, hard nosed guy that's going to come in and work hard can overcome a little bit.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
wonder.
Yak is like we make it this binary thing, right? Where it's like if it's over five, it's good. If it's below five, it's bad. But in those that freshman and junior year is at 4.8 both times. So it's like it's not really as binary as we make it, right? It's like there's a range to this stuff, right? It's like he was close, and then he greatly exceeded it in his sophomore year. So I don't know. I don't want to make it so I don't know, dogmatic that we just ignore dudes that are on the cusp.
For sure. It's not like that's not a deal breaker on him. It's just a point that potentially, if it doesn't translate to the NFL, limits him.
Mm-hmm.
Jax, carry on. You've been trying to talk and we've been cutting you off this whole damn time.
Well, I think it's like, I'm not so sure that yak per reception matters. I'll call this guy out, Ethan Krager or whatever, put out some R squared stuff, which nothing on its own is very strong for any position, but he looked at correlation within the first 3 NFL seasons of points per game, what stats from their college profile sort of signify success at the next level, and yak per reception was not one of them.
For sure.
Really, I mean, just
Yep.
Drop percentage was actually negatively correlated, so don't even bring that up. But I think and he doesn't have contested target percentage, quarterback rate. Actually, the number 1 on there is quarterback rating when targeted, and you know who has the best career quarterback rating when targeted of this class? It's Elijah Surratt. So actually, he may be behind Bryce Lance, but Bryce Lance only played 1 year and just caught like 4 long touchdowns. That was the only thing he did all season. Anyway, but yeah, he's really good, and that's why quarterback rating when targeted and things like that are part of what we look at, because they are sort of predictive. And so if you're going to look at some of the things and go, hey, he was really good at this, really good at this, really good at this, and then all those things are predictive of success at the next level, it's kind of like, well, that's why we look at this stuff, and when you look at him in concert, he just has a lot of that. Now, draft capital also pretty predictive, and that's why I'm saying if he gets that draft capital, then I'm in. If he doesn't, I don't know. I'm not flag planning a guy who gets picked at pick 107 or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think with draft capital, he's the guy, only because I think the opportunity will be there. And one more thing to the contested target percentage, they were running that on purpose. And, Mendoza and Surratt were like, yeah, we'll just run this thing where the back shoulder, like it's open every time. Like, you guys aren't good enough to stop it. So I don't even need to run a route. I'll just run this thing that you guys can't stop. We'll get it every time. Don't worry about it. So they did that to precision. And to your point, Joe, I don't know that works necessarily 100% of the time against NFL corners, but there is some relationship there for sure.
I would also just point out that yak per reception matters way more, or I should say it matters way less for, outside and X receivers, because their ADOT is typically higher.
That's right.
It's more likely.
That's what I'm saying is I don't know if he's suited to be an X or outside wide receiver, Joe.
Yeah.
And I think he was good in his time in the slot in college. I'm saying that if I think he's miscast as just an outside wide receiver, then he has to do something as a slot wide receiver. You know what I mean? And so that's all I'm saying. I'm poking holes. I still like this Elijah Surratt, to be clear, boys. But I'm just saying, if there are concerns, I could see that concern, because I don't know if he's beaten press coverage in the NFL. He's not separating from NFL cornerbacks downfield. And then if he gets in and does get to play the slot and he's not creating after the catch, I think that could limit his upside a little bit.
I love this. I love all the people talking bad about him. I just think,
look, he's been talking bad about him.
I would like to finish my point, sir. You cut me off midpoint. You cut me off midpoint. Yak matters more for the slot dudes that played slot in college, right? Do we know that he can't get yak? No, because he was playing more outside, and at that position, you're less likely to get yak. You know who also doesn't have a lot of yak? Denzel Boston, right? His yak per reception was also low, played sort of a similar role. Most of these guys lacked in yak if they were in an X receiver role, right? I mean, look at Carnell Tate.
Carnell Tate is less than Surratt.
That's why
Carnell Tate had less than Surratt. Exactly. So it's
that's why I'm saying
it's not a death knell unless you're a slot receiver that doesn't get yak. That's a problem, right? They had Omar Cooper filling that role, and he was a yak monster, right? So they just played different roles.
Really, actually,
but I'm saying he's better suited to move around in the NFL, though. You know what I mean? Sure. He is going to be better suited to do that.
I don't think I agree with that. I think he's really good at what he does, and I just like the player.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He played mostly outside for his entire career and was super successful at it for a team that went undefeated and won the national championship.
I like the Michael Pittman comp a lot, Jax. I think that's way better. Like I said, we went the Keenan Allen route just based on physical traits, but the Michael Pittman stylistic comp is awesome.
It's a little
And
Jaden Higgins too, although Jaden Higgins didn't do as much of the back shoulder stuff, but whatever. I just think, he reminds me of Jaden Higgins in the fact that this would be the guy that I am praying to get draft capital, that when he gets draft capital, I think I'm going to really like him. I think he can do more than people are giving him credit for, and the model loves him. For all those reasons, it's Elijah Surratt.
Yeah. I also,
Fair enough,
Trav,
boys, fair
and
enough.
I appreciate the criticism. I also just
You guys are
think
fucking killing me when I just threw something out there.
no. Well, I just want to say this. I've fallen into this trap a couple years in a row, and I honestly think it's like the reception perception trap, because like Harmon, God bless him, I think he's awesome at what he does. But he's like, oh, I think this guy would be better as a big slot, and then that idea got planted in like the intelligentsia of like,
Yes.
oh, this guy's gonna move to slot and he's gonna be awesome, like Keon Coleman, right? Or
He's
Xavier
Keon
Legette.
Coleman.
Yeah, exactly. And more often than not, they don't move into big slot. Like more often than not, there's somebody else better suited for that role. So I think we just got to take them.
And on top of that, he's better than Keon Coleman was.
I know. Yeah,
analytically,
as a prospect, yeah, for sure.
So that's actually funny. I'm just looking at my notes. That was my film take, not my data take. Because I didn't see him stacking defenders on the outside very much. That's where the contested target rate comes. I think that is a bigger fucking problem in the NFL. I think that is a huge problem if he's playing outside in the NFL. I don't know.
He's not a speed X. He's not, that's not what he's going to be doing. He's a DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Pittman.
Trust me,
type.
He's a trust me.
I don't think he's even. I don't think he's even like the jump ball type though that DeAndre Hopkins is. Though, is he?
I mean, his catch percentage on not being open was over 70% for his career.
Yeah.
So he's good at something. I don't know what he's good at, but he's good at something because he's fucking awesome.
He's good at
his
scoring
His quarterback rating when being targeted is over 140 for his career. He did not play with Fernando Mendoza for 2 of those years, but he played against lesser competition. But when he played against great competition, it was because he had a great quarterback. When he played against lesser competition, the quarterback doesn't matter. It's the competition that matters. It's like whatever he did, he was doing it awesome every single year for 4 straight years in college football. So much so that there's not a single metric that you can point to, including yak per reception, which he's better than Jordan Tyson, better than Chris Brazzell, better than Tate and Boston and all these other guys. He's better at yak than all those guys. Like, there's not even a thing that you can point to. The only thing we can point to is contested target percentage analytically. And that does jive with the film who say that he's never open. For whatever reason, his non-open ass is catching a ton of passes for a lot of yards very successfully.
Mm-hmm.
So he's good at something.
Fair enough.
Figure out what it is.
We will see, boys. We will see. Let's get into some more of these flank plants and ride this fucker out. Because peek behind the fourth wall. It's getting late where we are, boys. It's getting late.
You want me to hit mine? I'm ready. I'm feeling it.
Hit it. You're fiery. Let's go.
Listen here. My flag plant, we're going to go to tight end position. Okay? We're going to go to tight end position. We're going to go to tight end. I already know what Joe's going to say, and I'm not stealing his guy. Trust me. Because nobody's stealing his guy. Because
I feel like you're also not going to say who we think that you're going to say as well. So I'm excited to hear this.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So I went to, we rank on Fantasy Pros, right? And I went to my rankings, and I looked at my rankings, and there's a player that I am inexplicably 53 spots ahead of expert consensus. Which
I know exactly
says a lot.
I know exactly who
says a lot.
This is
about
a top
the
12
expert consensus.
This is a top 12 overall player for you, I believe, is it not? Or top 24 overall player for you?
Top 24.
Yeah.
Top 24.
23?
Somewhere in there.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. I don't know. I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm
looking at ECR right now, and I just see that Oscar Delp's best ranking is 3, and I'm pretty sure that's me, guys.
Love that. I've seen that on Fantasy Pros a couple times, and I know it's me who has the highest one, and it's a badge of honor.
Well, I can tell you, I'm likely the same spot because my tight end 3, by the way, the game theory play here, the tight end 3 through the tight end 10 is a very flat curve, I would say. And I would say that the game theory in me is saying, look, once you get past some of these elite players and that group of wide receivers that I just rattled off earlier, the 12 guys that are, maybe going to get for day 1 or day 2 capital, we can be ignoring almost all of them except for Elijah Surratt and just letting them go by. Or even better, trading the pick that someone's going to take a foolish pick on Zachariah Branch, trade back and get multiple picks where you can take multiple of these tight ends. I don't know how many of these tight ends will actually pan out, but I do know that a couple of them, and all I want is one. If I can take 3 picks in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, 5 picks in those rounds and get a few tight ends, and one of them pans out, one of them's Oronde Gadsden, then fucking fantastic. One of them's Hunter Henry. I'm excited. So the idea that I'm going to say who my guy is, but I'm going to tell you that this year's class, the point of entry isn't athleticism. As a matter of fact, the data I was just referring to actually has speed score and athleticism as not very predictive. And I was thinking about this. Speed score and athleticism at the tight end position is more of a disqualifier than it is a signal. In other words, if you run slow, you're out. If you run fast, we have to check you out. We can check and see. But it's like it's an in-out thing. It doesn't mean you're good. It just means you're eligible to be good. It's like getting a ticket to the club. But in order to get in the VIP room, you're going to need some money. And these guys who have athleticism only have a ticket. They don't have no money. And the money is in target rate, first downs per route run, yards per route run especially. And the guy that I like, who also is a film watcher's dream, is Mr. Eli Raritan. I think that he's actually going to be something of a good tight end. I had him check Kruger or whatever his name. I'm sorry if I'm messing up. I had him check the R squared of yards per reception because I have the funny feeling that yards per reception also has some signal to it at the tight end position, which is why some of these guys like Koziel I'm a little bit nervous about. But Raritan went off in his 1 year. He had 2 years of injury plagued, and then 1 year of just kind of like dope production. And of course, Toscano or whatever his name is, he's
Toscano,
he's his tight end 1 in the class based off of not just for fantasy, but for, hey, this is the best tight end in the class. And you know what? I'm starting to see that a little bit. Just watching him a bit, hearing some of the stories about the way he plays. He comes from Notre Dame, tight end U to some degree, certainly lately and historically, by the way. But I think that, you look at some of his stats and he holds up to the anatomy. He holds up to a model that we're building. He holds up in a lot of ways that a tight end should. I'm kind of an Eli Raritan guy. And right now I'm 53 spots ahead of consensus. He wasn't, if you remember, I took him in our little mock draft and he wasn't even in the sleeper database.
You are right single-handed. You are responsible for his inclusion in the sleeper database.
Right. It seems crazy.
In the Dynasty consensus rankings.
It seems crazy. So at the end of the day, when we see Eli Raritan, his ADP is going to be suppressed in sleeper ADP and other drafting sites that you're on. Even if he gets a little bit of draft cap, he could get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round in the NFL draft, maybe even the 2nd round. And I still think his ADP will lag to some degree. It won't get steamed. He's not going to, he could get, put it this way, he could go 4 or 5 picks after Eli Stowers as the tight end 3 in the NFL draft. And he's not going to be a 1st round pick, So maybe he's as good, maybe he's not. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just saying his ADP won't catch up. And for those reasons, I think he's going to pose a great value no matter where he gets drafted.
He's got a pretty good name too. So I think, especially for me as like a Pokemon kid growing up, anytime I'd be putting him into my lineup, I choose you, Raridon. You know what I mean? Go, Raridon, That's how I would be putting him in my lineup.
So exactly correct.
I would be Ash Ketchum sending him into battle against the opposition Pokemon. So I like him for that alone. Like he's in my top 5 for
that's
that
why
alone,
the people are tuning in right there. That one. That was the one.
That's why they're staying until hour.
They had to wait, hopefully. But they got there. You're welcome, people.
You sons of bitches, I'm in. I'm
Yeah,
in.
no doubt.
Eli Raridon in the 4th round. Let's go.
Let's go.
6'6", 245, runs a 4.62. That's honestly good enough for me. You said
Good enough.
athleticism, like, is a disqualifier or whatever. I don't know what you were trying to say at the beginning, but what I'm saying is
I'm saying that if you have bad athleticism, you're not a good tight end.
yeah.
But if you have good athleticism, it doesn't mean you are a good tight end. It just means you're eligible.
It means you're eligible to be a good tight end. That's exactly right. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And he's got good enough athleticism for his size. And good enough production too. So yeah, I'm on board, especially for the price he's going to be going at. That's exactly the reason why I like Delp, for the price he's going to be going. And this is what we're doing, guys. We are not drafting wide receivers in round 3 of our rookie drafts. We're taking tight ends and we're just taking shots at, like, I don't know, these 4th round running backs.
I love that.
4th round NFL draft running backs.
Yes.
Probably 3rd round in your dynasty drafts.
I think I'm actually going to ride us out on that, guys, because I think one big thing that we bring to the table, and I think it's more so the two of you bring to the table that I have learned a lot from over the past couple of years, is finding what I'm thinking of as like the meta of each draft, right?
Yeah.
So I think last year the meta was that the fall off was in the middle of the 2nd round, and that we really wanted to be getting out after that as much as we could. This year, there's multiple pieces too, right? There's like 1st round meta, and I feel like I'm trying to be young by even saying that, but I think it's like how people describe it now. There's early draft meta, there's late draft meta, right? And right now, what you guys are saying and what we're telling the people is that these tight ends, just because somebody has a shiny wide receiver or running back label on them in the mid 3rd round and behind, that doesn't mean you should take them over a lunch pail like John Michael Gillenborg, or maybe a Tanner Koziel or a Justin Jolly, or that tier of tight ends that one of those guys is going to hit, like Jax said. So you might have to wait on some of them too, but that's why we have deep rosters and we can put these guys on our taxi squads, because tight ends take a little bit of time. So just be a little bit patient. So I don't know if that was a decent way to ride out, boys, but after choosing Raridon and you guys giving that valuable piece of what to do at the back of your drafts, I think it's a good time for us to ride out. It's the last show before the draft, guys.
I can't believe you didn't let me get my Eli Heidenreich take off. We had an Eli. I had a perfect transition to another Eli. The problem is we don't know his position.
We're Team Eli here is what we are.
Right.
Oh my God. It's
Elijah Surratt.
The Book of Eli. Holy
damn,
shit. That's
the meta. Holy shit. Okay, draft guys named Eli or that have Eli.
Or Elijah. It's honestly, it all derives from Elijah, so yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We're getting biblical on this shit. Jax 25:17.
The righteous man.
Sick callback, Joe. And with that, this has been Dynasty Underground. I am Trav for Jax Falcone, for Joe Kuvetakis. We're working on some stuff around the draft, guys, so stick with us. Keep it locked to the socials and in the Discord, because that's where we're going to announce it. And we will see you then. The NFL draft, baby. Peace.